50. They run the corner. They were followed by Mugger 2 held up. And here coming through Russian Camelot and taking through along the inside is Luna Fox. Mugger 2 coming at Russian Camelot. Then Behemoth, Russian Camelot and Mugger 2. Stride for stride. Mugger 2 fights. Mugger 2 for New South Wales. 1 All-Star Mile 3 by...
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Worms Whispers Racing Podcast, All-Star Mile Day at Flemington. As always, I'm joined by Matty. How are you, mate?
G'day, Worm. All-Star Mile, your favourite day?
Yeah, I love it, mate. It's one of the best pop-up races we've got. Mugger 2, last year's.
Yeah, what were your thoughts?
Ding Dong Battle, great race. Ollie shouldn't have waited for Mugger 2. Only cost me the quaddie and cost me an absolute fortune. So, no, thanks, Ollie. But, it's a... I get the concept. I get it. But they've got to change it. It's just bad. It's laughable now.
Well, it's okay. We've got a couple of very solid horses in Streets of Avalon and Luna Fox back for another crack this year. They were in the starting lineup last year, so good to see those two back in.
Yep. It's it's laughable. This episode's brought to you by Wishbet. Check them out at wishbet.com.au or download the app at the Apple or Android store. Matty and I both use them. And if you're looking for a new bookie, please check them out. Pineapple of the week last week, I went with Home Affairs. Yes, we went down. Don't know what to think. Poor ride I'm feeling. Inside looked to be on fire. And we went to the middle to outside, which is normal. And then they went really quick up front. But then what really confused me is J-Mac gets on and says, it ran well considering the weight it was given. Yeah, confusing. So hand it over to you, Matty. So hopefully you can find our sub, who this week is Michael. You can get him a winner.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. I think last week's just a bit of a forget. It's a bit of a messy race all around, so we just forget that one. We move on. But I can see you got the Port Adelaide cap on there.
Yep. I think you're more chance of winning at the G tomorrow night than we are winning on Saturday night.
Well, mate, as long as we're not up by 5 goals in the third quarter and get done, that will be a win.
No, you should be right. Michael Voss will have the Port Adelaide style, and I reckon you'll win.
Thank you, mate. Looking forward to it. Cracking to have footy back.
Yeah, body oath. Track stats. Rail out 8 metres. Third week in a row now at Flemington. The last 2 weeks I feel have played favourable to the leaders, so I'm going to watch and act. 3 weeks in a row it's a bit like the Derby Day, Melbourne Cup and Oaks Day. They keep pushing the rail out, so definitely watch and act. And just, if you are part of my subs, you'll get an audio Saturday morning with a really good update. So if you want to be part of that, let me know. All right, buying shares in. Matty, you got anything for this week?
No, mate, nothing for this week. Good to see that the rule of law got off to a cracking start as well.
It got beaten, yeah?
Well, we introduced a rule of law, and we can't bet against rule of law in that race, and we actually decided to back it, and some mudlark decides to run 8 weeks in a row and get up on its inside. So off to a good start with the rule of law, but that's okay. No, mate, no changes to the portfolio this week.
I'm going to buy shares in, and I know I potted him last week, but this is a different way I'm buying shares in Craig Williams. I think Racing Victoria need to take a leaf out of his book. On Saturday, he rode a winner. Well done to him. But on Saturday, I saw something firsthand that really put a smile on my dial. He came back from one of the races, can't remember which one. There was a group of 4 or 5 kids, I reckon around 10 years old, clapping him in. He's given them the thumbs up, came back and kept pointing to him for some reason. Don't know what it was, and he came back with 5 caps for the kids. Kids were so happy. It was just so good to see. Even the dads were happy. I reckon one of the dads stole one of the caps off the kids too. But And then later on, I watched Willow walk away. He's told one of the VRC people, put him in the steward's box for the next race. So 5 kids and 2 dads went into the steward's box and watched the next race. Like, how good's that? That is so good for promoting racing. But I just feel Racing Victoria and the clubs don't do anything about it. It's always left up to the jockeys, which leads me into the cash out. Racing Victoria and race clubs, they've got to take a leaf out of Willow's book. It is promoting the sport. It's getting kids back up there. Those kids that went there Saturday would be asking Dad, when are we going next? And they're the ones we need going forward. I feel Racing Victoria and racing clubs just happy with the members, happy with the public just turning up. This is a great initiative for the non-peak racing to get your jockeys, your trainers out there, have a stall where they can meet and greet, get an autograph, have a selfie, just promote the sport, do something. It's just boring at the moment. Like, I don't want to see another ad for All-Star Mile. Like, promote you're going to meet Craig Williams. Like, there'd be some dad out there that would love to meet him. I would. He'd be a great bloke to chat to. But, yeah, I just had a gut full of clubs and Racing Victoria sitting on their hands doing nothing when Willow's doing something out of his good gesture.
Well, now that he's into your portfolio, mate, I'm sure he'd love to have a beer with you too.
I reckon it'd be a few waters, mate. Wishbet promo runs for this week. He's run second in races 1 and 2 at 12 tracks this Saturday, and you'll receive a bonus bet up to $50. So just check the T's and C's on that, what tracks are available. But I'm pretty sure all 12 is all 12. But please check your T's and C's. All right, this week, since we're a bit early, we're going to do a All-Star Mile runner by runner because Matty's going off to watch supposedly the premiership of 2022, so he can't do a podcast. So we thought we'd do a runner by runner for the All-Star Mile. Speed map, I will kick things off. I reckon Zaki and Call Sign Mav will lead. I reckon Zaki will take its time to come across, which will leave Lightsaber maybe 3 wide. Tofane not far behind them. Mr. Brightside will kick up with Streets of Avalon. Captivant should be 3 wide, just in that forward position. I'm Thunderstruck. He could really use barrier 1 and sit right behind him, or just 1 pair back. He's going to need a bit of luck from barrier 1. Inspirational Girl and Pinstripe will be smack bang midfield. King Magnus and Cascadian midfield back. Sierra Sue, Ice Bath, and Luna Fox are near the rear. Number 1, I'm Thunderstruck, $6. Matty, you want to kick off with I'm Thunderstruck?
Yeah, mate, I will. Last start did drop back. I think just naturally from barrier number 1 here, it'll sit a lot closer. Probably going to sit behind either Streets of Avalon from 3 or Mr. Brightside, depending on how they both jump. So I've got it sitting 1 or 2 back on the fence. Now, Jai's going to need a little bit of luck on the corner. I would suspect that he should get that. There will be a bunch that will be running midfield, and they'll all be trying to gain momentum as they go around the corner. But I'm Thunderstruck is a horse that will be running around the benchmark time, if not better, that you'll need to run to be within the finish.
Yep. I think it's been a good prep so far. All roads pointing to the grand final, which should be the All-Star Mile, but I've just heard it's going to the Doncaster, so got me a little bit confused, but I'll stick with the All-Star Mile. Barrier 1 is a slight concern, as you've pointed out, Matty, but has raced on speed before, so if they really want to kick up, it might be beneficial for it. I feel it will camp behind the leaders, 1 pair back at worst. 1,600 big tick, a definite winning chance, and I think it is close to the best turn of foot out of the race too. Number 2, Zaki, $3.40. Barrier 15. I feel they'll roll forward. Jamie will just let it stroll. Its best racing's up and forward. First up was held up near the 400-metre mark with a soft tempo. I wouldn't say soft. I'd say very, very soft. Winner had 6 kilos less, now meets it at weight for age. My slight knock is second up, and it might be a brutal run race. Definitely a winning chance. Best horse in the race, but I'm not a fan of second up horses. Matty?
If they potentially just made this a match race between two and put one in barrier 1 and one in barrier 15 and just put 12 roadblocks in between, 13 roadblocks in between?
Yeah, yeah, it does look a bit like that.
Look, agreed. Best horse in the race. But the question mark second up, as you mentioned, barrier 15. It'll need to do some work early. Look, it's going to sit wide. I doubt it's going to get much cover. It can run 1,700 metres rather than 16 if need be. We know it's probably preferred to between 1,800 and 2,000. The benefit for me is Jamie Carr on board, but a lot of question marks. Would be a lot more intrigued if this one got a bit of an easier map into this race. So it's definitely going to make it extremely challenging for the best horse in the race.
It did run second. It did win second up last prep. The Underwood beat Probabil by 2 lengths. Not many
Yep.
Probabils in this race, but yeah, I think I just can't take the price with the barrier. Even though I think it'll slowly get across. I just think there's better chances at prices.
330 with 15 horses in the race. Well, you would have to be exceptionally confident that it can overcome barrier 15, being second up, and probably not going to be getting any cover whatsoever.
Yeah, especially when there's pace on its inside with Streets of Avalon, Lightsaber,
Call
Call
sign.
Sign Mav. So, yeah,
Yep.
that's how I think we both agree. We wouldn't talk you out of backing it if you liked it, that's for sure. But it's not. I just can't. Number 3, Cascadian, $21. Matty.
Drops back from the 2,000 metres, which I'm never really too much of a fan of horses dropping back in distance. Was, as you mentioned previously, Worm, it was a brutally run race, which again I don't find too attractive. It did have every chance. It kind of peeled out and looked like it was going to make ground, but didn't really. It's going to find itself mapped within the midfield battle here. It'll jump with all the horses around it. It'll find a sit somewhere, most likely one off the fence. Based off its last run, though, over 2,000 metres, dropping back to 16, I don't know whether it's potentially got the acceleration it's going to need across the last 400 metres to be competitive against a few of these.
100% agree. Had its chance last week, got the nice suck into the brutal tempo and just gave nothing. 0.2 behind Superstorm last prep at the Cantala, but I just can't have it at $21. Number 4, Streets of Avalon, $101. Not going good enough for me. More of a roadblock than a winning chance. Matty?
Will be the first one beat.
Number 5, Luna Fox, $101 as well.
From out wide, barrier number 14. Look, I think it's only got one chance, and that's to drop back. But then you get to its last 400, last 200. It hasn't got the sectionals to run these down, so it'll be a pass for me, Worm.
Yeah, it's got no hope. The ambulance will beat it home. I'm hoping there's a market on Wishbet to which horse the ambulance beats home, because that'll be my bet, Luna Fox.
Well, if that is the case, Worm, I'm all over Streets of Avalon. Maybe we'll have a nice bottle of Shiraz on that one.
Yeah, done. All right. King Magnus, $81. If it brings its Cantala form last year, I think it can run top 4 for your first 4 if you're having one, but don't know if it's come back anywhere near that form. So if you're having a first 4, maybe chuck it in for 4th as your wider one. Matty?
I tend to agree. Look, it doesn't run bad races. Last start wasn't horrible. Previous campaign wasn't horrible. Very competitive. Again, not running close enough to benchmark to be competitive against a few of these. So it'll be a pass for King for me.
Yep, nice horse. Bit easy. I like the horse, but just not against these. Number 7, Call Sign Mav, $51. Matty?
Yep. As we mentioned, it'll go to the front. It'll be up the front with Streets of Avalon, probably outside it, depending on if it wants to be a little bit more aggressive. Running the 2,000 metres down to 16 again isn't too appealing, and especially given how aggressive that last start was over the 2,000 metres. Third up, it's going to be a pass for me. Call sign Mav. I don't necessarily think it's going to struggle running the distance, but I think you'll find it wanting across the last 300 to 200 metres. So not for me, Worm.
Yeah, not ideal for me. First up was really good, then had a slight concern. I think high temperature. Then second up, brutally run, 7-day backup. It's a no from me. Number 8, Mr. Brightside, $17. First up was really encouraging. No luck. First up and then last start, it was just a jockey error. I've made that very clear. Feel the camp didn't want to lead. They were forced to. Taking a sit here from barrier 2 will be better suited, and we can really see what the horse is. Can finish 3rd or 4th if you're taking multiples. Matty.
Your love child Willow on board. It'll get a very, very easy run within this race. I see it jumping, sitting behind Streets of Avalon. As I mentioned, it'll either sit just in front or just behind of on Thunderstruck. I tend to think it'll probably jump a little bit quicker than on Thunderstruck. So it'll probably be on the rails, one back. It's going to get a very nice towing to this race. What my concern is about Mr. Brightside is the times that it runs and the way it works into races. It doesn't necessarily have the momentum once it comes around the corner to really accelerate and have that power that it needs to over the last 400 metres. So has it got the turn of foot over the last 400 when you've got horses like Thunderstruck, Zaki, a few of these others that might be building up a bit of speed from the back if the race is a little bit slower. So Mr. Brightside, I've got a few question marks, but it will be there on the corner. And yeah, potentially if it does get a bit of a toe into the race, it might surprise a few.
100% agree. It's a bit of an X Factor horse. Is it going to take that next step and claim one of these big ones, or is it just going to keep running a nice race?
I would have just loved it to have run a time before this race, which it hasn't.
Yeah, agree. Number 9, Ice Bath, $21. Matty.
Ice Bath drops back. Doesn't really have too many options. Look, last start, or has had 2 starts this campaign over the 1400. One of those is on a heavy, so I kind of forget that. It would need significant speed in this race, which I don't necessarily think it's going to have, just with Streets of Avalon and Call Sign Mav. They look like they might get a bit of an easier lead. I know you mentioned Zaki might be up there as well. I believe it'll try and find a sit behind those. But if Zaki decides to put a bit of pace in this race, Ice Bath is one that can definitely run the sectionals it needs to across the last 400 to make this interesting. I don't like horses coming from last or near last at Flemington. So it's going to need a fair bit of luck to be around the mark here.
This is one horse that was hard to assess for me. I don't know if it hasn't come back or it's just not had some luck. Last start was a heavy 10. Out wide wasn't the place to be later in the day. Got moving at the 600 to get into the race, and then as they straightened, the wheels just started spinning. First up, just got too far back. Then if you look at last prep, Private Eye struck trouble 3 lengths. Rocker Clock, who went just okay. Oh, went okay at Flemington last start, and once again, Superstorm. Yeah, he's just hard. Does he want the breeding barn, or is he a genuine chance at $21? I don't know. I'm really confused. The more I keep thinking about it, the more I just don't know. So I'm going to leave it out. I'm not confident either. Number 10, Tofani, $15. I think this is a horse that is overs of the race. First up, good win, controlled that race. Last start was beaten by a horse that was on the Caulfield monorail on Blue Diamond Day. Stuck on well, 1,600 metres last prep, beaten 0.75 of a length to I'm Thunderstruck. Meets him at level weights now, was giving I'm Thunderstruck 6 kilos. We know how much I love Incentivize. Was only beaten 1.15 lengths by Incentivize at 1600. Third up now, should be fully fit. Should get the gun run just behind the leaders. Matty.
Worm, I didn't think you were going to tell everyone it was overs. I haven't jumped on yet. Just settle down, please. No, Tofane, last start, 4 wide on the bench. He touched that wasn't the part of the track at Caulfield it needed to be on when Sierra Sue just sat on the rails, jumped around to Rath and had the rails run on the escalator, but that's okay. And Tofane here, all the numbers stack up to this being a very, very solid run. As you mentioned, $15 does look quite attractive. From a map position, barrier 7, it's going to be around a lot of horses that jump around the same mark, so I would expect it's going to get a decent sit. 1,600 metres, slight concern. I don't think it will be too much. I think it'll get a toe into the race. Again, it's raced on Thunderstruck against in the Toorak over the 1,600. So, look, for me, it has a lot of positives pointing towards it.
I think we're getting a price because Jay Mott's on board. M Zara's up in Sydney, and that's why I think we're getting 17s.
Yep. Sometimes the engine under the hood doesn't necessarily matter who's behind the wheel.
Mitsubishis. That's all I got to say. Number 11, Sierra Sue. Matty, $20.
Sierra Sue. So we did have that in our top 4 last starts, and I personally didn't back it. Don't know why, but talked myself out of it because of the track. Sierra Sue here. Look, the mapping last start was what was one of the main factors for it to win last start at Caulfield. Again, it'll run a nice time. Barrier 13, though, that's a fair concern. I don't know how many options it's going to have from a mapping point of view. The distance over 1,600 metres is a concern for me as well. I don't necessarily think that it's going to have the right map within this race to be in a position at the corner to make up as much ground as it's going to need. So that is my concern with Sierra Sue.
Yep, 100% agree, mate. Barrier sticky. It's 1,600 stats. A horrible 5 starts for a second. Got a lot of luck last start. Yeah, there was a nice win, but I just can't have it against the big boys. 1,600 metres. Number 12, Inspirational Girl. $6. Barrier 4 can sit midfield just like last start. Has a deadly turn of foot that we've seen in Perth. And I think last start we really saw what it's made of. Yes, it's up 4 kilos last start, but it's a winning chance in my eyes. Always got to respect the Bob Peters horses when they come down here because he quinelled the All-Star Mile in 2020, I believe. So he's a definite winning chance in my eyes, Matty.
You know, well put. That last, call it 200, even last 150 against Aki was wow. I think you mentioned it was the second best last 200 of the meet. It was exceptional. As it crossed the line, its head was up. It looked like it could have run another 400 metres at that pace. It really was quite an exceptional run. I know we were on it, which was good to see. Got the chocolates. Barrier 4. Look, I think if it could pick a barrier out with Damien Lane on board, it would be barrier 4, 5 or 6. So it's going to get a very, very good run. 1,600 metres is going to be no concern whatsoever. As you mentioned, up in the weights, which, look, it's going to feel it, but it didn't look like it was at all impacted last start. I know it was at 52 kilos, but it was just so powerful. Look, my concern here is $6. I probably think it's a little unders, but it's definitely going to be around the mark, given the mapping to this race and the last, specifically 200 metres that can run. It could put a few of these to the sword.
Yep, definitely if it gets the gaps. I'm just worried it might see a few bums before it gets out. But if it gets out early, yes, some of those roadblocks. Number 13, Captivant, $34. Matty, you?
exceptionally disappointing last start, Captivant. I talked it up. It had every chance as it rounded the bends. Sitting around where Profondo was, and one of the horses we'll talk about after Captivant, Pinstripe. Well, it found some bums and still managed to run past Captivant. Now, I know that's slightly different runs, but I can see why it isn't in single digits within the market. It was exceptionally disappointing, which was quite surprising. From a mapping position, look, it'll sit midfield, will probably find a little bit of cover, but yeah, from barrier 11, based on last start, it has to be a pass, which is quite disappointing given the fact that it is a class horse.
Yeah, I've never really found this horse when it's run. Yeah, it was okay, and Caulfield Guineas, it was a good second. Last start at the 300, just got that little squeeze and just, got held up that touch. And what I'd look for in those horses is for it to respond, and it never really respond. Pinstripe had saw more bums and responded better, so I can't have it at $34. Number 14, Lightsaber, $17. Horse went huge on a brutal tempo last start, and watching the replay, the other leaders around it just dropped right out. How this held on for second on that tempo is beyond me. Now going to be fourth up. Wow, I think this is a genuine chance. Going to be rolling forward from the barrier. Might be 3 wide, no cover, but I'm hoping it can get in. 3 weeks between that run off that brutal tempo is perfect. I like that sort of stuff. 17s is overs in my eyes.
No, look, I think you're right, mate. And it was one of the class horses we identified last start. And as you mentioned, for it to hold on within that tempo against a quality field was exceptionally impressive. Look, it could be lucky enough just to follow call sign Nav across and maybe get a little bit of cover. Maybe it sits one back, one wide. Maybe it gets a dream run. But it's definitely overs at $17. It's got the times, and it'll run better than benchmark based on its last start. Look, I definitely prefer it to be closer to the midfield, but if it does get cover, very good chance.
Yep. You just got to watch just watch its replay, guys. If you're listening, just watch it through the line. It was finding another gear, I thought. So $17. Hello. Number 15, Pinstripe, $6. Matty.
We'll follow Pinstripe all campaign. We weren't on it the first start at the Valley. I think it was against Finance Tycoon. But right there, straight after that race, I know you and I were on the WhatsApp just going, wow, this is an impressive horse. And we've seen it ever since. It was, look, obviously last start was a complete forget run, found bums. Within this race, from a mapping perspective, obviously weight won't be an issue. It'll get a decent run. Again, a number of horses around it where it likes to run within the midfield. So I think from a mapping perspective, there's no issues. It'll get its chance. So if you do like it, I couldn't talk you out of it. But what doesn't do it for me is $6. $6 for a horse that has had one start at 1,600 metres. Last 200, yes, didn't even get ridden and flew home. It's an absolutely quality horse. However, a rating 90 within this race against horses like Zaki and I'm Thunderstruck, $6 is just way unders for me. If it drifts, maybe it's something that you can that could interest me. But yeah, unfortunately, I thought it was going to start around $12-13. Yourself?
Yep, 100% agree. I think the price is priced on the unlucky factor. Yep, was unlucky, but what was left is where I'm trying to work it out. Yep, it wasn't whipped, was hardly ridden, but it might have been nothing left. That might have been its top speed. I reckon it blows out, definitely to double price, especially Lightsaber $17. The
Yep.
price differential is no head scratcher. Yeah, I think it can win, but I just don't want to touch it at the price. And it might be boxed in. It might, map's a bit sticky as well. So MD might not want to make the same mistake. Top four, Matty. What do you got?
I'll run through them. Now, interestingly enough, my top four within the race may not be my betting strategy, but on top I had on Thunderstruck, Tofane second, Inspirational Girl, and then Zaki. They're my top four within the race, but the market doesn't necessarily allow me to bet within that. So, what were your top four before we go to our strategy?
In number order, mine would be Azaki, Tofane, Inspirational Girl, and Lightsaber.
Okay, so very similar.
Yeah, yep. So $100, Matty. How are you going to spend it?
I'm going to have four bets, so I'm going to separate those a little bit. But again, I think the market allows us to, so I'm going to have $50 on Thunderstruck. Again, offering the $6. I don't know whether we're going to get much better than that. I can't see it really getting out to $7. So you might get $6.50, but I'll take the $6 on Thunderstruck for a $300 return. I'll have 20 on Tofane again for a $300 return. Can have a saver on Inspirational Girl, and that'll get $120. So money back there is a saver. And then the one we identified at Oz as well is Lightsaber. And that will be, we'll just have our last $10 on that. But at $17 is well and truly overs for a class horse within this field.
Right. We've gone down the same path, but I'm going two bets. 50 to win on Tofane at 15s and 50 to win on Lightsaber at 17s. Fill your boots up on that, punters. Around the grounds. Matty, you got anything for the punters around the ground?
Mate, we'll be just going to our portfolio. So I've got Gentleman Roy, who last start was just short of Yonce, and which will be running on the weekend. Most likely win, but that won't be in around the grounds. It'll only be paying about $1.50, so we'll leave that one alone. But yeah, Gentleman Roy, we will be on.
Beautiful. Punters, if you listen to this before Thursday, race 2, Kyneton, race 2, number 3, Speedy Akiti, 5th up on Thursday. Fitness shouldn't be an issue. We'll sit on pace from barrier 17. Been racing against some okay maiden and winners who have gone on to better races. Last start, hit the lead at the 250. Look, the winner got run down with 50 metres to go. 2 starts back, sat 3 wide at Kyneton, and it took its toll late to go down by 0.5. Was $12, now into 10s. So at 10s and 3s, we will play it each way. Pineapple of the week, Matty.
Pineapple of the week, we're going to stick with the race that we have reviewed today, Worm. We will be putting it on Thunderstruck. So as Michael, you mentioned who's got the pineapple?
Yeah.
So, Michael, we've got 50 going on Thunderstruck.
Beautiful. Hopefully we can get a collect for the first time for the subs. But that's the end of the show. Matty, like anything in the footy?
Yeah, my lock for the weekend, very, very tough round of tipping, but my lock for the weekend will be the Cats against the Bombers. And, mate, just fingers crossed that Vossi can get us off to a flyer. Who have Port got?
Port have got Brisbane at the Gabba. I think Brisbane are absolute morals. We do not play the Gabba that well, and especially at night time. So I'll be looking to back Brisbane head to head over 15 points, over 39 points. The line, it's going to be an absolute fill up because I don't think we're anywhere near their class.
Mate, footy is back. That is the real winner.
That is correct. Thank you for listening, everyone. Next week we'll be, I think, just back to standard racing in Melbourne. So we'll be previewing those. So until then, hope you have a fill up and all the best, punters. Thank you for listening.